Hi. Today we're going to talk about musical theater. Musical theater is very popular. It always has been. And it's popular because it's light. For the most part, there are not many heavy musicals that, you don't have Oedipus the King, the musical. You have light musicals. They're silly stories usually, and in these stories, the way they're presented, we are always aware, always, that we are watching a play. They do not try at all to be realistic. It is what we refer to as theatrical. By being theatrical, what I mean is we know we are watching a play. It is performed out to the audience. In fact, they go so far in a musical is that they will sing a song or they will do a dance and then stop the play entirely and wait for the applause. The applause is part of the story, part of the evening of watching a musical. And if the applause is loud enough, they'll do a reprise. They'll sing some more. So it's not realistic. The things they do could not happen in real life. I mean, you watch a musical and, there's a couple sitting at a table at a cafe and all of a sudden the man goes, will you marry me? And she goes, yes. And he gets so happy, he jumps up on top of the table and he begins to dance across the tables. Waiters help him, join him. Everyone in the cafe gets up and they all sing and dance together. That's a musical. We've all seen those, Disney musicals. Even when they're cartoons and they're a film, they still turn and play out to the audience so that we can applaud, laugh, sing along. That makes it theatrical. Another term that's often used, presentational. We're playing for an audience. And as I said when I started, very popular. If you look at the shows that are on Broadway right now, most of them are musicals. Why? Because that's what people want to see. Yes, there are dramas that do well, but for the most part, musicals. People go to Broadway to see the musicals. That's what gets the biggest audiences. What I'm going to try to do with this lecture is we're going to go back and look at how the modern American musical, how it evolved. Because the musical as we now know it actually came from a lot of different sources. All types of musical theater, but not musical theater as we now know it. And from all these different pieces, musical theater developed to be what it is today. The first thing that we want to look at is called ballad opera. Ballad opera. Ballad opera was very, very popular in the 1700s, especially in the early 1700s. Ballad opera did several things. One, it made fun, it poked fun at Italian opera or true opera. It was quite different than the Italian opera or true opera, which has been around for many, many years. In Italian opera or true opera, every line in the play is sung. Not the case in ballad opera. Ballad opera mixed dialogue with song. So people would speak and then they would sing a song. Ballad opera usually told stories, simple stories that sometimes people would already know the story. They've just put it to music. And another thing it did, it used popular songs of the day. They would take stuff that people would go to a tavern and sing, and they would just take those songs, those tunes, stick them into the play wherever they felt it would work. It would be like today if you took all the top 40 songs from the radio and said, oh, well, let's create a musical. We'll use all these songs. Here are 10 songs we're going to use. And so you pick those 10 songs and then you write a story, a very loose story that would allow the characters to go from song to song to song to song till we got all those popular songs in the show. And that's what they did. They took the popular songs of the day and they stuck them into a play. The most famous of these ballad operas was written by a man named John Gay. John Gay, G-A-Y. John Gay wrote a musical called The Beggar's Opera. The Beggar's Opera was the single most popular work of the 18th century. It, as I said, it used a lot of folk tunes of the time, stuck them into the story. In fact, there were 69 songs in this ballad opera. 69. Now, if you go to a Broadway play, you will see maybe 12. They might take 10, 12. A lot of songs would be 14. 10 or 12 songs, and then sometimes they repeat parts of them. But that's a major musical today. In that show, there were 69 songs. And as they performed, they would invite the audience to sing along. In fact, they didn't have to invite them, they just would. People would come to the performance and they knew the tunes and they would just join right in as the play continued. This musical would set the standards in form and in style for all ballad operas that followed. In other words, it was so popular, everybody copied it in form and in style. It is still around today. In fact, I want you to see a scene that will post here, and it's from a film of The Beggar's Opera that starred Laurence Olivier, and he played the main character, Macheath. It'll give you a really good sense, if you watch this scene, of what a ballad opera looks and sounds like. But they are still done. In fact, just a few years ago, The Beggar's Opera was performed, and the man who was the lead singer in the rock group The Who played Macheath, and that's Roger Daltrey. And it was a big hit. So the play is still performed, but in that time, as I said, it set the standards in form and style for all other ballad operas. Now, if you would, just watch that scene, because it will really help you understand what ballad opera was like.